An exciting week lies ahead of us. We'll take a look in this video at everything that could happen, what will happen, plus some short news and outlook, everything right here in the video. Hey, and welcome to Crypto Yule. I'm back from Berlin. Yes, we'll talk about that briefly in a moment. And let's take a look at this week, because this week things are happening. Some interesting things are going on that could, of course, influence the prices and are already doing so right now. We're just before the stock market opens in the US right now. And it's already off to an intense start, plus the outlook for this week. You probably know what's coming up this week. If not, just stay tuned, subscribe, like, and feel free to comment on what you think about this video or the topics discussed. Let's get started, as always in my videos, with the market update. And as for the market update, we can already see this with Bitcoin over the past few days. We're looking at the daily chart here. It actually looked pretty good, a nice move upwards. Then there was another brief breakout during the night, or rather today. But now here's the big problem. Now the market is already starting to show some weakness. And yes, we just have to acknowledge, I'll say this right from the start, we're in September. September is simply the month. It's hard to believe because of the saying, sell in May and go away, but remember, come back in September. That's the old stock market adage, sell in May, but don't forget to come back in September. But this saying doesn't specify whether it's the beginning of May, the end of May, the beginning of September, or the end of September. That's not included in it, and that's why we see that September is the weakest month of the year. Now everyone says, what? Yes, that's how it is. If you take a look at the statistics, I'll step aside for a moment so you can see. Here you have January, February, all the months. And down here is the overall performance for each month. And you can already see that September, with minus 4.8%, is followed by August, which has now also turned bad. If August had been a good month this year, it would have even stayed in the positive. Do you see that all the other months are in the positive? This is based on the entire recorded Bitcoin chart. Of course, after Bitcoin started in 2011, or rather after this chart began, there were some really impressive numbers here. We don't even need to talk about that. Bitcoin then started to get attention. Naturally, these months with these percentages are extremely good. We can see it here as well, plus 33% on average. Yes, and September is and remains a bad month, and that's consistently the case. Maybe that's also because 2011 was really the worst month of the year. That trend continues, of course, but in general we see a lot of red months in the Bitcoin chart over the years. Bitcoin, the mother of all cryptocurrencies, naturally leads the way here, which is why this chart is often used to illustrate the point. Just to mention that in advance. Shall we take a closer look at the chart? And here we can also see that even the leader is currently showing weakness, or rather, after this strong phase. Well, it's only logical that you take a breather there. The question is, will it repeat itself again like here? Take a breather and then another push upwards, setting a new all-time high? Or will it be more of a sell-off or a sideways phase until the end of September? That's the big question. An interest rate cut has already been somewhat priced in. And there you already have the news of the week actually. Namely, the news of the week is that the interest rate cut could come this week. We don't know that yet. We'll take a look at that in a moment to see what it looks like. And of course, this could influence the chart. This could already be somewhat priced in here. Yes, and now of course a lot of numbers are coming in as well. These will decide the whole thing here. We're looking at the DXY, the dollar chart, and we can see it's still weakening, which is actually good for the crypto owl because when it rises, it's usually negative. Then let's take a look at the DAX, which is also weak today. As we can see, Netflix is actually starting off positive, or will start off positive. The current chart is the red one, that's the pre-market. The orange one is what's being traded pre-market. Then let's look at Apple, of course, after the new iPhone. Hello, everyone is hyped, the orders are already going crazy. At the end of the day, the iPhone can't do much more than the previous one. Just a little bit, but it has a new color. I have to spend $2,000. Go for it. Yeah, and that's how it looks on the chart. Tesla also delivered positive numbers, no question about it. That's why things are on track here as well, especially after all that mess. I mean, Elon Musk has calmed down a bit too. But now it gets interesting. Google is doing well again. Microsoft is starting off worse. Coinbase, our crypto owl, will also start off a bit weaker. And now it begins. And that's Nvidia. They're starting to weaken, and Nvidia has become a brand by now. And when Nvidia weakens, we'll also see that the SPX and the Dow Jones, which are actually hitting all-time highs one after another right now, especially the SPX, the S&P 500 in the US, which is setting all-time high after all-time high, will be affected as well. Look here, we can't compare anything because it came from way down there up to here. You just have to be honest, that's insane. Then the Dow Jones, it actually looks similar, but it's also starting to weaken. That already happened on Friday. So we're very curious to see what happens. And gold today as well, or rather in the past few days, has been moving sideways. It remains exciting. Silver is starting to follow a bit, but as we can see, this uncertainty in the stock markets is of course also reflected right now in the Bitcoin and crypto charts. With Bitcoin and the leading coins, we see pretty much the same thing. Today is rather a bad month, even though Bitcoin, as I said, had another small breakout during the night, as we can see here. We can see it here in the hourly chart. This move upwards and then the movement downwards happened this morning. Not last night, but rather this morning. Yes, that's how it looks. So that's the market update. And of course, we can see that this is affecting the entire market. I don't see anything green here, except for the BLX ticker, but that's delayed. That's the Bitcoin long-term ticker. It's a bit delayed, but everything is red in my watch list in this case. So that's why the week isn't starting off nicely, and we should be very curious to see what happens. Will it just be a bad September, and is September now turning worse because of what's happening right now? At the moment, it's at minus 6.23%, so it could of course turn around now and maybe even end up positive, even if it's just a 1% gain. But compared to the rest of the year, a 1% gain, if that's already the worst green month, I'm really curious to see how things will develop. Write in the comments what you think. Where is Bitcoin headed in September? Will it hold above 115,000, or will we maybe see just 112,000 or even below 110,000 by the end of the month? Anything is possible. And of course, a quick note, you know it, if you want to buy CryptoYule, check out our CryptoYule. We have a beginners list here, so if you're a complete newcomer or beginner, then this is the list you should pay attention to. But if you're interested in trading, then of course you'll want to look at things like fees and futures. How does that work? And then we have a complete list here as well. What are the advantages and disadvantages of each one? And up here, a quick overview of what we recommend for each topic. So feel free to check it out at cryptoyule.com. Currently, there are no special recommendations, just a note that several exchanges are listed there. Then let's go back to another topic, actually two small topics, specifically the topic with NPM. So NPM. Hack, you've probably heard about it. Charlie, the CTO of Ledger, wrote this long post about it, 9.3 million views on the 8th. That was on September 8th. And for anyone who might have missed it, we didn't post anything about it on X either because it really made the rounds. But in our Telegram group, Patrick summarized everything again. What you need to watch out for, what you can do, what you should pay attention to, exactly what happened and what it all means. So, if you don't want to miss any updates or miss out on something like this, we recommend our free Telegram group. We don't want any money for it, and we're not selling you anything there. It's purely an information and discussion group. You can just join in. There, we can quickly share news like this with you. In this case, Patrick shared everything there. So stay cautious until the problem is resolved. In the meantime, the problem has been fixed. And the attacker, of course, has a wallet address, and this was tracked by Arte. And they tracked how much he actually managed to steal. For him, of course, this was a huge opportunity to intercept transactions. So if you made transactions at that moment, and he was able to alter his JavaScript, or rather the transactions, so that the funds ended up in his wallet address. It was a huge opportunity for him, and he took full advantage of it, cashing in big time, specifically 1087.87, with that address. He has about $500 in ETH, and the funny thing is, just a few days ago it was still $500. They tracked a bit more, but really just a few tokens in this case, and that was 6 days ago. A bit more was added to the total. Yeah, and that's about it. We can refresh the whole thing again. But it's... Oh, the price has dropped. Yeah, like I said, the charts are in the red. 1049.64 is the money he got from the NPM attack. Yeah. Crazy, right? So he had a big opportunity there, but it all more or less happened by chance anyway. And then something else, actually this news is from a while back, but it's coming out this week. Specifically, the news, I already covered it in a short in case you saw it, is about the Dogecoin ETF. So the Dogecoin ETF will probably launch, and that's on September 18th. There are now also reports saying September 19th, so sometime this week. Today is September 15th, so just a few more days. And this news already made the Doge chart rise last week. We can take a closer look at that here. And then we see here that as a result, the Dogecoin chart was able to rise. In that short, I just did it for fun. So I made the short around here on one of these 2 days, and just for fun, I drew 2 yellow lines and said, yeah, if this announcement spreads further, then it could break out right here. Maybe at the end, which would also fit with the listing, because the 18th. And the 19th, the end of these 2 lines where they meet would be on the 15th, so exactly today. But no, this news spread so well, and it really did break out. I'm going to become a trader. No, let's not do that. In any case, it was really very interesting to watch this chart, and of course traders were able to make good profits here with long trades. Right now it's going down, which is due to the current market movement. And of course up here there were also profit takings. And this ETF is being listed via Rex Osprey. That's a platform. They've already listed a few ETFs. One of them, for example, is this one here, the SSK, the Rex Osprey Sol Plus Staking ETF. This is what it looks like if you want to buy it. You can get in here, there's an entry price, the approximate profit price, ask me what else. So, for anyone who wants to buy the ETF, since that's not so common in Germany, at least not for the crypto crowd, we have ETPs, so it's not really that well known. And a lot of people don't do it that way. Instead, of course, we buy via the chart. But the chart for all of this looks like this, and that's definitely interesting. Now we have a really interesting chart here, which is also due to the Solana price, Solana, because of course the Solana price has also risen in recent days. Then of course we immediately see this movement in the SSK from Rex Osprey, the Solana Plus staking ETF. However, this one will very likely fall today, because now in pre-market trading people see, oh, the chart is dropping right now, so I'd like to sell. You know how it used to be. Hello? Yes, I'd like to sell my shares. Yes, I'd like to sell this many shares at such and such a price. I can't promise you that price. I'll do my best. I'll shout it out. Then you hang up and, hello, does someone want to sell? It's not like that anymore these days, but in general, you can still imagine it that way. And that's just what happens. Especially in the pre-market, trading happens in such a way that it's very likely to fall. But that's because of the falling prices of crypto right now. But what's interesting is, will something else happen in the Dogecoin chart? Or is it just that typical saying, buy the rumors, sell the news? So buy the rumors and sell the announcement or the news. And of course, it could be that this has already been priced in here, that such an ETF is coming. Yeah, and when it actually arrives, it'll probably go down. I'm really curious to see if that's how it will turn out. We'll find out this week. Another very important piece of news this week, or rather, today, you can still buy a Tangem wallet. And you can buy one of these Tangem wallets. You all know this. There are all kinds of different designs, and some of them are currently heavily discounted. That's why I'm telling you about it. So, you can get 20% off here with this link. In general, you can get 20% off with the link in the video description or the pinned comment. And then, in addition, these Bitcoin ones, these weird cats here, and the Sundrop or the Summer Edition are further discounted. I'm not even sure, is that from this year or even from last year? That one was from last year, and this one is from this year. So you can grab them now. And for all the others, if you say, no, I actually don't want these special ones because they're under $50, my friends, under $50, that's very good. Or you say, I want these new color models, just like I say. It's also a limited edition. I really love these two. They're truly beautiful colors. Or maybe as a girl, this color, or maybe the US wallet, or the popular stealth wallet, or the regular one, or the stealth wallet. They're available for $55.92. You can grab them now. There's currently 20% off with this code. It won't last much longer, so you always get 10% from me, but 20% is really, really good right now. Yes, and then these 3 editions are reduced again. Just a heads up in case you want to take advantage of that. And of course, the ring, hello friends, the ring for $128 is a real bargain. So if you want to grab it, now's your chance. Now let's move on to the outlook, dear friends. And the outlook for this week is very, very exciting. We actually have quite a few things coming up. So let's take a look at the economic calendar. Economic calendar, very important, investing.com. This is a very important calendar. It has become so because you can really see a lot of numbers here. For example, you can see these are the current numbers for today. I've now clicked on this week. We're going to go through the entire week now. And then we'll see everything that's happening. The most important things are all the ones marked with 3 stars. And here, friends, Christine Lagarde will be speaking. Crypto Owl doesn't care at all. What she says doesn't matter at all. Monday, not so important. But then we get to this point. Economic expectations in Germany. That won't affect Crypto Owl, but here is something really important again. Namely, the retail sales figures for the month of August and also year over year, so from August to August. Important figures that could potentially influence everything here again when it comes to inflation or interest rate cuts. And then comes the consumer price index in England, which probably won't interest anyone either. Then Lagarde comes again, contradicting herself, but nobody cares about that either. But then the consumer price index comes out again, this time for the EU, so for the euro. That's always an interesting figure. The forecast is the same as before, so I'm curious because life is just getting more expensive. Then we have crude oil inventories again, also a topic in the US, and the interest rate decision in Canada. Honestly, nobody really cares about that either. But the most important thing is coming up here Wednesday, dear friends. Wednesday is the Fed's interest rate decision. We can see it when we click here. We can see exactly what's going on. Currently, the forecast is unchanged and the previous value is also unchanged. But in the economic calendar, and this is interesting, we see a different forecast here. 4.25% down from 4.5. And that's really exciting. So the economic calendar is already anticipating a rate cut here. Well, suspected, not stated, but suspected. So it's a forecast regarding the whole topic. And that's very interesting because when I click on it, this forecast isn't there. We can really look forward to that day. So Wednesday evening, German time, 8 p.m., we can be very curious to see what happens. And of course, the press conference, because that's when you get further insight or an explanation as to why the interest rate decision was made that way. Either positive or negative. And the outlook. How they assess the whole situation in the near future. That's a very important day. And then there are a few minor things. Lagarde speaks again, but nobody really cares about that. There are also a few more figures coming out of the US that might be interesting. Specifically, the initial jobless claims. We can already see that the forecast is lower, which is actually good. The Fed is already keeping an eye on that now, so that's actually positive as well. And as for Friday, there's nothing particularly special or significant then, but Wednesday will be the most exciting day of the week, and the interest rate decision in the US will give the market another boost. Whether it goes up or down, it all depends on what happens. But keep in mind, it's already pretty much priced in that there will be a rate cut. We've seen that in the past few days, or rather, last week, the charts were simply much better and were more in the green. Now for some quick news. 3 short news items. I'll go through them with you also in our Telegram group. The new iPhone is here. But what's interesting about this iPhone is its price. We have a price in dollars, but if you measure it in Bitcoin, the iPhone gets cheaper every year. Right now, if you're willing to pay in Bitcoin, an iPhone actually costs just 0.007 Bitcoin. That's quite something. It's been halved again compared to last year. Incredible. Well, compared to the previous model, that's how you have to put it. Incredible. Now the question is, what exactly is being measured here? Is it the largest version of the iPhone? Probably not. I assume it's just the standard price of the respective iPhone. But as you can see, it's getting cheaper and cheaper. Yeah, here with the iPhone 13, I think that was in 2021, when the Bitcoin price was very, very high, or at least very high back then, and then it dropped again. That's why you also see a top price here, but I think it's under 0.01, so 0.007. That's actually a pretty cool number. And James Bond would be very happy to buy one here with Bitcoin. And then, a sad topic, you've probably heard about it. The president's friend who was shot. Charlie Kirk was a big topic. I actually find it sad, but I want to mention it. Namely, the perversity of this crypto owl. This happened after he was shot. Even when the whole thing went around the world. Yes, there were meme tokens right away, and these here, well, RIP Charlie, Stabilosity, Justice for Charlie. Man, that's insane. And these really reached extreme volumes, and a lot of people made a huge profit from it. That was very, very... Sadly, I posted this in the Federal Telegram group, and there was also a short news update from last week in our Telegram group, so join in. It's free, even if there might not be a lot of messages. We always share news with you whenever we have it. Arte got hacked? Yes, no joke. The YouTube channel of Arte was hacked. And then, once again, there was the same old live streams, this time featuring Michael Saylor and Donald Trump, who supposedly talked about Bitcoin. And there, once again, you could use some link to send your Bitcoins. And at the end of the day, they were gone. Yes, unfortunately, that's how it is. Then, of course, the big question will come up under the video, probably. That's why I'm going to answer it right away. So, on Saturday, there was the event from the Casper Experience. I was there in person, representing Tangem at the Tangem booth, selling wallets, explaining them, and talking with people there. If you want to know more about it, I'm currently still waiting for video material from the Casper Experience because I myself was, yes, only at the booth. I couldn't film anything. So for everyone expecting a video from me, that's not going to happen. But they were flying around with a drone and took plenty of camera footage. All of that is still being processed. And once the footage is available, I'll include it. So if you want to see something, follow Casper Experience on X, and then you'll get the videos, or rather, the impressions even before my video. But of course, there might be a few more insights in my video. So with that in mind, you've been warned, or rather, you know what's up. Warned is a good word. What could happen this week, or what will happen? The Fed's interest rate decision. A very important topic, probably the most important topic this week for the US markets and also for the crypto community. I'm very curious to see what will happen. Write in the comments what you think. Will Jerome Powell, or rather, the members of the Fed, the heads of the Fed, will they now make an interest rate decision for Donald Trump? In other words, a rate cut, which of course would also benefit the citizens, no question, since it would make loans cheaper. Or will they stay as they are for now? And will Donald Trump eventually have to go so far as to fire Jerome Powell? I'm very, very curious to see what happens. It's going to be an exciting week. Also with the Dogecoin ETF, whether it can give the chart another boost or if people will just start taking profits now. So exciting topics, and of course also ETFs, crypto ETFs. There's more news on that as well. This week or so I've been told. When and how, I'm very curious myself. With that in mind, you are informed. If you have any further questions, remember our Telegram group and feel free to check out our exchange comparison. Maybe you'll find a great new exchange or one that could be really useful for you. Check it out. With that, thank you very much for watching and see you in the next video.